a tax practice is a stream of data, right? It comes in from somebody, you ask some follow-ups, and then you process it, and then you create a return. If they don't give you the right data, nothing else downstream works. We got to get better as an industry of like being able to change our processes and even understand our processes and implement automation, regardless of the tool you pick.
Right.
This is Modern Tax Pros. I'm Dave Haase, the founder of Juno. I'm here with Brad Wooten, who's got his own practice here in Orlando. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on and looking forward to talking about Juno and integration with TaxDome and everything. I launched my firm here in Orlando in 2019, so it's coming up on the end of 6 years. And it's just a small CPA firm. Do individual clients, a lot of S corporation clients, and yeah, it's been enjoying it, so it's been going well.
Do you have a particular focus within the client base?
Yeah, so kind of what I did was, when I opened up, it was like, hey, I got to pay the bills. So it was like, yeah, I'll do that.
Clients
I'll
who have
that.
money.
Right, yeah. People who had money and were willing to pay me to do it, I would do it. And I started out with fees that were really low. And, I feel like that's a great way to go because then you get money and you can pay the bills. And then I started basically weeding out what I didn't want to do. So I don't know if, I called it a reverse niche. I was just like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
Right.
And that slowly narrowed me down to, just about any 1040 I'll do. And then businesses, I hate partnerships. So I just do S corporations. And the vast majority of them are professional service-based S corporations.
And with that type of client, are you helping with payroll? Like do you do any bookkeeping stuff or is it just on the tax side?
Yeah. So the first couple of years I had a decent bookkeeping, 10 to 15 bookkeeping clients, and that's slowly down to like 4 now. I get that back up, but I didn't take on too many because during tax season, I don't want to have to do a bunch of bookkeeping because I am heavy on the tax side. And payroll, kind of the same thing. I don't do a lot of payroll. I just do maybe 8 to 10 of my S Corp clients where it's just the S Corp owner. I run their payroll once a month. And anyone else, I let someone else handle the payroll.
That's funny. It actually is a lot like my practice. I got rid of most of my bookkeeping. I had like 40 at one point. And then I think we've got maybe 15 now. We kept the like really streamlined people. But I was kind of like, I'm going to shrink this, and then when we're doing really well, I'll grow with the type of client that we serve really well. So it's actually really funny that you do that, and then we're probably 80% tax, so we're probably very similar.
I'm about 80% tax, and I would say of my tax clients, I do the 3-tiered services like a lot of people. 80% of my clients just want basic compliance tax prep. Even when I offer them more.
Well, and you mentioned you were doing the tiers. Tell me, like, when did you roll that out? How'd that go? I just am like genuinely curious about how that was for you.
I did the tiers from day one. So I was in a practice from 2008 to 12. That guy had been doing it since the 70s. And we were, estimate how long you think it's going to take you. Multiply it times your rate. Tell them what it is. And then we didn't change it usually. Based on kind of what I estimated, my time would either get written up or down. And around that time, I was reading like Journal of Accountancy articles and stuff, and people were talking about value pricing. And I was like, okay, when I buy this firm, this is what I want to do. But life took me in a different direction, didn't buy that firm. But when I was launching my own firm, I knew I did not ever want to track billable hours. I was like, I hate tracking hours. I don't want to do that. So I was like, I'm just going to figure out how to price stuff. And I knew I wanted to do the 3-tier pricing because I'd been reading a bunch about that. I don't do what I would say is true value pricing, where you try to price each person kind of at the maximum amount they're willing to pay. It's a hybrid of a forms-based, times-based, complexity-based, value-based. And I just put together an Excel calculator because that's what we do as accountants, right?
That's right. Built an Excel.
And so I get the big rocks too. Like I'm not like, if you got a kid and I'm going to do the 88 for the child tax credit, I can charge you for that. Like that form's going to fill itself out when I type your kid into the to the software. So I just get the big stuff, Schedule E, Schedule C, Schedule D. I ask 15 questions. I price the return based on that. And then I add flat dollar fees for the middle and the premium. And then I present that to them, and they pick which level they want.
When you finish a return, you go back to that to see if there's been like a change in scope or...
Nope. No.
You just do the initial and then you kind of stick with it.
I stick with it. The only times I felt like it really bit me was it was like 3 years ago. I had to do 3 3115s for change of accounting in 1 week. And I had never done one before.
Yeah, no, they
I'm like,
come up.
I'm figuring out how to do it, and making sure I did it right. And I found another CPA who's done it before. I was like, look this over for me. And he did. Yeah. You know, don't miss that step if you're new. Like, how many people aren't doing that? Yeah. You know, now I can do one very quickly. Yeah. But you know, I didn't charge them for it. Yep. I didn't go back and charge them for it. Yeah. I just ate it. Yeah. Because, you know, I'm like, okay, I can.
You were very kind in doing that.
I can charge them another $300.
Right. Yeah. Or at least.
But at the end of the day, what do I care? Yeah. Like, you know, like I'm gonna build that into my questions from now on. Right. Like I fixed my process to do that, but I didn't go back and hit them with another fee. I think that it would have been reasonable to. Right. And I think they would have understood. Yeah. I just chose not to.
No, it's interesting. And then sometimes you want to keep it simple for folks, and you know, eking out the extra $300, if it frustrates the client, that will probably take up time elsewhere.
Yeah, I don't feel like I miss scope a lot, but I also maybe feel like that because I don't usually go back and look at if I miss scope or not.
Right. Well, yeah, you don't track the time, it's kind of gone.
So anyway, you just move on. Yeah. Right. And you know, income's fine. So it's like, I'm not stressed. So I'm like, whatever. Right. And I did last year. I went back and, you know, I looked at the prior year return. I looked at the pricing calculator, and I started from the prior year return that I had prepared. Yeah. But I don't get prior year returns before I price clients. Yep. Because the current year could be different anyway. Right. So I'm going to have to trust what they're saying. Yeah. And I've never had anyone that I felt like was sandbagging to get a lower fee or anything. It's right. Like, what have you got going on? Right. They tell me, I price it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. We get prior year return, but only because they just like, even they may be like, I'm like, do you have a brokerage statement? No, they don't really know what that is. And when I explain it to them, they're like, oh yeah, I have one. It's very simple. And then I'm like, I get it. It's like, oh, it's 240 pages.
I mean, there's probably been plenty of those. If they can't answer a question, like, you have a business. Yeah. Is it a Schedule C or an S Corp? I don't know. Yeah. Did you file 2 returns or 1? I don't know. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to get the return.
Your tax return.
Right? Yeah, for sure. And I'm always going to get it before I prepare the return. I just don't get it before I quote them.
Right. Yeah, of course. And then what are you working on now with the practice? Like, what are you focused on in terms of improving the practice? Like, what's top of mind for you?
Yeah, top of mind right now, my brother started working for me in year 3. Yep. And that was before I switched to TaxDome. Yeah. I was docu-signing out stuff manually. Everything
Actual
was
DocuSign?
manual. Yeah, everything was manual.
Nice.
And I was like, I can't keep doing this. Yeah. So I brought him on to do admin work. And then I think like 2 months later, I got TaxDome, and I was like, well, what are you going to do now?
Right. Yeah.
And so,
sorry, buddy.
I was like, you're preparing tax returns now. And he was like, okay. Yeah. And I mean, he kind of was planning on doing that anyway. Right. But I was like, now that's all you're going to do. You're going to prepare tax returns. And so he did that, got his EA. Yep. Been preparing tax return for several years. Now my sister is working with me. She's 2/3 of the way through the EA. Yep. She's been prepping returns, and I've been reviewing those. And so the next step is really for them to start seeing their own clients. Yep. And then I have a seasonal preparer who works with me. She's been working with me now 2 seasons. Yep. She's got 20-some years of experience. Yeah. Lives in Alabama, and just logs in and prepares returns and asks clients questions. Yep. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. I don't want to run a business more than that, right? Like, I don't want to pull back and be like, I'm managing 20 employees and never doing a tax return. Yep. I want to do a few less tax returns. Yeah. But I want to still do that. I still want to meet with the clients. I still want to do the sales calls, the initial client appointments. Right. So I even told them, like, if you just want to prepare, I'll bring the clients in. Right. And still work on stuff. Yep. But they'll start to see their own clients, and that's kind of it right now. And then I kind of just see maintaining. Like, I'm not like a let's grow to the moon kind of person. Right. I'm like, life's good. I got 3 young kids. Yep. I don't want to, work all the time.
Yeah. No, I love that. One of the things, as we automated more, like what you just described about your brother's journey in terms of role is actually super interesting, because my admins are doing more tax prep as we automate more. How do you make it easier for that person to transition into being able to do more of, because everyone's like, how do I get work down to a lower level?
Right. Yeah. I just gave them the work and said, do it.
Yeah.
Like,
perfect.
I'm not a teacher.
Sink or swim.
Yeah. I'm not a teacher. I honestly can't remember how I learned to do tax. Yeah, right. I switched from audit to tax. Yeah. And I got there, and the guy was like, I was seeing clients face to face. Yeah. And all I remember, this was 2008. All I remember him saying was like, I prepare the return while they're sitting here. Now, we'd never finished a return in front of a client. Yep. Even if it was done, we didn't tell them it was done because we reviewed each other's work. Right. And so he was like, one day, you'll get to where you're preparing it in front of them. Yeah. But right now, just collect the documents, and so day one, I was like, why did I feel comfortable doing that?
Right.
Like, I had only ever done my own return before.
Right.
And so, and then he'd review mine, he'd mark it up.
Yep.
I'd review his.
Yeah.
So I'd see returns that were right.
Yep.
And I learned that.
Yeah.
So that's the piece that I haven't really incorporated that I think is valuable. But basically, I started him out and I said, look, and at the same year he started doing tax prep, it was data entry.
Yep.
And I had a friend's daughter reach out, and she was a college student, wanted an internship. And I was like, okay, I need help. Yeah. Like, how about right now? She was like, over the summer. I was like, I don't need any help over the summer.
Yeah, right, exactly.
How about right now?
Yeah.
And so I basically just said, like, do what you can, and I'll do the rest. And so they entered W-2s.
Yep.
They put Schedule C stuff in there. I went in, I cleaned it up.
Yeah.
I fixed it. So they were getting a return 30 to 90% done, depending on how simple it was. And then they didn't ask the clients questions. They just input what was there.
Yep.
And then I'd review it. I'd ask the client questions and never give them feedback. I apologized to her after. I was like, I'm sorry I didn't really teach you anything. But she's like, no, this was great. Goes on my resume. I got experience. And I was like, all right. And so that piece of it, like helping them step it up, it's mostly just been, again, with my brother as he's continued. Oh, well, how about this? Or how about that? Like, how do you do this? How do you know when they come in with an Airbnb where they did their couch for half the year? How do you put that on Schedule E? Like,
exactly.
How do you depreciate that? How do you prorate that? And so it's mostly just been through conversations like that.
Yep.
And then I was like, look, go study for the EA.
Yeah.
Do that, and that's going to give you a base knowledge, and then I can help you from there.
Right.
So that's been what I've done, and he's progressed from data entry to, hey, most of this stuff is pretty good as you're getting it to me, and then just building up the confidence there, and like, you're doing a good job. You're asking the client the right questions. I'm looking at the questions you're asking them.
Yep.
You're following up on the right stuff.
Well, and then if they take over the client management, they're like picking up the pieces.
Yeah.
Basically as they go to do more and more.
Definitely.
Are there any process things or technology things, like changes that you're planning from an automated, like to continue to streamline?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, TaxDome was huge because it took over a lot of the admin pieces that were able to be automated. Right.
Like collecting client documents, e-signature delivery.
Yeah, automatic follow-ups on, I was sending every client an email with like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep.
And then not hearing back from them.
1, 2,
so then I'd have
2,
to
4, and 6, and then you send it back to them.
Or they don't reply, and then I'm like, who did I email? And I got to go back and re-email them. So now it's like, okay, that's a chat message with to-do items that automatically hits them every 3 days.
Right, exactly.
Or whatever you put in there, right?
Yep.
So that helped a ton.
Yep.
The engagement letters are all the same, so they just get auto sent.
Right.
Now I custom invoice everyone, so I have to manually send out all invoices.
Right.
But all the other stuff is so much more streamlined that picked up a ton of extra time.
Yep.
So then the only other thing, honestly, I've been looking at is like Juno, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I demoed it and was testing it out, was because they're preparing, I'm reviewing. I'm the bottleneck, 100%. Every return comes through me. I sign every single return.
Yep.
And so it's like, okay, how do I get them into the reviewing
self-review
stage? Yeah. And so it's like, okay, well, if I can use Juno to put in the data, I just not only helped save them some time, I changed their mindset.
Yep.
Because they reviewed each other's returns this year.
Right.
After April 15th, I was like, hey, there's still a ton of backlog. Why don't you review each other's?
Yep.
Catch some extra stuff, and then I'll come in and review it.
Yep.
And they both mentioned, like, it's completely different picking that return up as a reviewer than as a preparer.
Right.
And so it's like, well, yeah, if I can use Juno to put the data in there, and you're already in that reviewer mindset from the beginning, then that's just going to elevate their work. And then every return gets reviewed because anyone can transpose a number.
Yeah.
I'm looking at every document, every number. And so, okay, if I can get a review process before me, this checking for the transposed numbers and the easy stuff, now my review goes from a 45-minute review to a 20-minute review as well. So that's a big piece of it. And, okay, I could hire another couple of people to do the data entry and then have them step into reviewer role. But yeah, that's going to cost more. Yeah. Right. And so.
And the bummer is with reviewers, it's you have to be able to trust them. So then you're going to have to review their review. Right. For what amount of time? And you're like, how am I going to, like in the throes of tax season, am I really going to be able to trust this person? Yeah. It's difficult to get reviewers up and running. It's much easier to take a preparer where you already know what they know and don't know.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, do better self-review. And then I know that this 80% is going to be really solid. And like, maybe we have a 1031 exchange or something you don't know how to do, but you at least know that you don't know how to do it.
Right.
And you do your very best and then tell me like, you need to look at this really carefully.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's where they're not, neither of them are quite ready with the experience to I mean, they'll sign returns, but I'll look over them.
Yep.
But they're not ready for that fully, like, I'm reviewing this and it's going out the door without someone else.
Right.
But I think for this tax season, it's like, okay, we'll start implementing probably Juno.
Yep.
And they'll review what Juno does, then they'll do the rest if it can't do some of that stuff. And then they'll review each other's, the simpler ones. And then, hey, if you got a question on a C or an E or whatever, shoot that to me.
Come to me.
I'll look over that. And I'm probably still going to be like, okay, you review half of his and I'll review the other half. So I'm sampling, right? And it's like, give the simpler ones this way. I'll take the complexer ones. I'll still review those. And so I think that'll just keep moving it up. So that's the goal. That was the goal with Juno. And so, those are kind of the questions I have, like, as I'm trying to evaluate those, right? Like, okay, I've only demoed two software. And I think we got connected because I posted on LinkedIn that I didn't like either of them.
I know. Well, I didn't realize you had talked to someone on my team, and I was like, Brad, you haven't talked to me.
So that was where, because I
deleted that comment, by the way, because I was like, oh, shoot, because I was like, you didn't show us. So that was like, I better delete this.
And Jack posted the same thing. Like, you both commented like, hey, come check out Juno. And I just, I didn't want to name either of the companies, right? Because that's not what I want to do.
Right.
And so I private messaged both of you and was like, hey, Juno was one of the ones. I didn't really care for it. And you were like, that's fine, we're not for everybody. And Jack was like, let's meet and talk. And so
Jack's an optimist.
I met with Jack, talked to him. And I mean, I put this in one of my videos. The thing that I just loved so much about that conversation was he never tried to convince me Juno was great. He just wanted to hear what my opinion of it was so he could make it better.
Right.
And I was like, okay, that wins me over right there. Like, because, you're not like, hey, we're amazing. Like, you shouldn't be talking bad about AI.
Right.
And here's why we're so great. And let me convince you. It was like, what'd you not like? Oh yeah, I don't like that either. He's like, oh yeah, I know we need to work on that. Here's what we are doing that I haven't been able to roll out yet, but it's ready. And so like just hearing all of that was pretty awesome. And so those are the things. I mean, some of the things that I've thought about is like, okay, the price point. I can go get an intern from UCF to, $20 an hour to plug in some numbers.
Right.
And it's like, well, that's what kind of the OCR technology was doing. So it's like, well, I don't have to wait for it. I can hire a person. I feel like I'm building into, they can put it on their resume. Like I'm benefiting a human instead of paying X, Y, or Z company. And so it's like, where's the case, where's the best way to implement? And that's one of the questions I got too, even as I said, like, hey, I'm going to be talking to you today.
Right.
Someone's like, what's the right way to implement? What do you see as the ideal way to implement Juno? In terms of kind of the easiest win, kind of there from the beginning with where it's at right now, and kind of where it's going to be in, tax season 2026.
Right.
You still got several months to implement some stuff.
Yeah, that's right. No, we do. A lot coming between now and then. I mean, I can use the example of my practice. What's hard is every practice is so different, but I'll give a generic answer, but I just want to say up front that like every person I talk to is in a completely different place as a practice. So I'll generalize, but you already described some of this, like you're moving people from admin to preparer, from preparer to reviewer, from reviewer to like secondary reviewer on exceptional items.
Right.
So people are like moving down with better technology, and for you more experience, right? But if they have better support of technology, like reviewer for us will tell a preparer where to look for issues that are exceptional. And it will catch things, and then they can check them off, and they know little things like, oh, you have capital gains or losses without basis. There should either be a PDF attachment or an 8949 on the return. They're probably not going to know that unless their software has said that, which it does sometimes and sometimes doesn't, depending on the software. So for our team, my admins do all the data entry now. My preparers are doing most of the review. And when I come to a review, it's a really long brokerage statement with something exceptional on it, something without basis or foreign taxes or like something I need to look at. Or K1 that has got footnotes or something. And so my reviews are like 20 minutes. And some of them are not even that, because I'm just like, this is, okay, I looked at this one document, like we're good, this is fine. And by the way, like the reviewers double checking like transposition errors and some of those things, like it's also double checking that.
Right.
And then the other thing I'd say is that my advisory time. So I haven't unlocked the let's go drive tons of advisory yet. And I think kudos for the people that have. There are people that are way better at that than I am.
Yeah.
We were joking about that earlier. It's like I also am not that great at it.
Yeah.
But my advisory time is expedited now because I can just go in and be like, all right, run this projection basically with Advisor. I barely demo Advisor because it's so far ahead of where most of the industry is. But everyone's role just got a little more senior without adding people, because just like you, I just don't want a massive staff. I wanted to be able to do really efficient work, provide great service for my clients without a ton of people. Yeah. Because as I started to run into turnover during COVID, I was like, I can't, this people thing is killing me.
Yeah.
We had 12 staff at one point and I've got 3 now. And so, and we have more margin than we did then.
Right.
So that makes my life just way easier in terms of just people quitting in January, or every story I've run into basically, right? And so that's been the transition for my firm. In terms of process itself, I was talking to someone this morning, it's like, can you guys do handwritten notes? And I'll just use this as an example. And I'm like, well, yeah, we can read handwritten notes if you can, but why are you getting a handwritten note from someone? I'm like, can you take a step back for a second? Why is someone writing you a note?
Yeah.
Because if they give you an HSA distribution, they're not giving you what was reported to the IRS, you're more likely to get a notice. If they give you charitable contributions, they may not give you receipts, or you don't know that they have receipts.
Right.
Or you don't have the name and address of the place where they can, if it's non-cash. So I use those 2 examples, but on this handwritten note, someone had uploaded one a few weeks ago and they were like, well, it only processed half the stuff. And I'm like, listen, why is this your document that you are putting in our system? Because, crap in, crap out to a certain extent, right? I'm like, even a human, I'm a CPA, I've been doing this for a decade. Yeah. I have follow-up questions on half of the things on this list.
Yeah.
This is the wrong data to be collecting. And so I use that as an example to say, from a process perspective, your data streams, I know we're not, most of us are not tech people, but a tax practice is a stream of data, right? It comes in from somebody, you ask some follow-ups, and then you process it, and then you create a return. If they don't give you the right data, nothing else downstream works. Yeah. And it's I'm emailing follow-ups, I'm making my own checklist. So I think your point about TaxDome, I had done the foundational work with Carbon, my firm switching to TaxDome now, but we were on Carbon at the time. And if we had not done that, it would have been harder to unlock some of the wins. And so when I talk to people, I'm like, okay, we can do that, but can I ask you a better question, which is why are you doing this? There's a different way to do this. And I talked to a big firm the other day and they were still doing
So maybe part of the benefit is it forces you to have a better process.
Because then you're like, hold on a minute. I'm spending all my time just emailing people back. You gave me half the list and not the other half. So there's so much to do there. And I think I was literally just talking to our customer success team about process change with people and adopting new technology. And this is not Juno specific at all. I don't say this to be salesy, but we got to get better as an industry of being able to change our processes and even understand our processes and implement automation regardless of the tool you pick.
Right, yeah.
And I think we'll spend more and more time as firm owners doing that.
That's right. I guess, like you said, the case study, and I think I put in my opinion, okay, I ran 3 tax returns through Juno before I said, I don't like it.
Yeah,
right? So it's this isn't a fair review, right?
Well,
I get that, right?
Yeah,
so it's okay, you've used it for a whole tax season in an actual tax practice.
Yeah.
You built it, and the fact that you're actually running a tax firm, matters. Yeah. Versus I don't know what the heck I'm doing with taxes, but I'm going to put some AI together to help you do something that I've never done before.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's a huge deal because it's okay, you're using it. And I want to circle back to that too, because you talked about the 50% margin increase.
Yep.
And my guess is that's because of either downsizing your team or avoiding a new hire, not necessarily downsizing. But yeah, it's okay, when I'm looking at the reviewer product or the data entry product, it's okay, for data entry, I can find someone to do this for $15 an hour.
Yep.
They don't even have to be an accountant.
Yeah.
My kid could do it, right? Here's a W-2, here's a 1099, plug that in, I'll come through and review it.
Right.
And then with the reviewer, I think I was looking at it from the wrong perspective.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you're using
right.
I'm reviewing returns, and I can do that pretty quick. I've got a process, and I felt like reviewers slowed me down. Because I'm sitting there looking at wait, what does that say?
Right.
And I know I'm just supposed to be looking at the big red ones. It was look at this, but I'm an accountant. I'm not going to do that. I'm anal, right? So I'm like, well, what does that say? What does that say? And I was like, this is taking me longer to review than if I just reviewed it myself.
That's right.
But my staff aren't reviewers. And that's going to help train them because I'm not a great trainer.
Exactly.
And so it's like, that's going to help train them think through these things.
Yep.
And it may slow them down at first.
Yeah.
Right. And then all training slows you down.
It may slow them down forever, a little bit, right?
Yeah.
They get the tax
which may be a good
time,
thing too,
the data
right?
entry.
Like if they're not naturally thinking of those questions anyway.
Right? I mean, that's the thing.
And so that's where I kind of felt like I was like, man. And then I was like, well, okay, I guess it's not for me, right?
Yeah.
Like it's for me in the sense of I'm the firm owner.
And you can
but
double
it's
check to
helping
see
me
if there's
move
something
people
really material.
upstream.
Yeah.
And so, that's a different perspective.
Yeah.
Than kind of where I was like, well, what's it going to do for me? And it's like,
right.
Well, okay, as a firm owner, what's it going to do for me? Not just like my particular process. And it's like, okay, I might not use the reviewer, but they will, and then I'll just review the return after they've done that.
Yeah.
And so that makes sense. And then the advisor,
we're going to put in there where they can check things off, by the way, so they can make notes and check stuff off. So and then you can just review what they checked off.
And the biggest thing that I was looking for was, okay, OCR technology would do some of this stuff, a lot of this stuff, but it was slower.
Yeah.
So that's where, even when I mentioned, like, I was like, if you've got a good case study for OCR right now, you should go ahead and switch to Juno, right? Because it's better.
Yeah.
And it's going to be you don't have to upload it and wait a couple of days to get the file back, right? You hit play and it goes. So that part's great. The piece that I was looking for was like, okay, I want you to do the Schedule A.
Yeah.
I want you to.
We're doing it.
Now, I don't want you to take a handwritten, I don't have clients drop off receipts.
Yeah.
If they give me something I can't read or the photo, I'm like, dude, re-upload this.
Yep.
But I do get, hey, here's my total charitable contribution is $12,100.
Right.
And I don't ask for receipts.
Yeah.
Or they upload 10 receipts, and I've got to look at each receipt and type in each number.
Yeah.
And AI should be able to take those 10 receipts, dump it into the Schedule A.
Yep.
Or take a handwritten total. If it says charity, it should be able to see charity, 12,000, and type that number in. And it's not there yet, right?
No, we're literally building it.
I think Jack told me that's coming by this tax season.
Within 2 weeks or something like that.
So that was the piece I was looking for, that I was like, well, why isn't it doing this?
Yeah.
And so that's why I was like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
And so then, after talking to Jack, he's like, I know, that's coming.
Yeah.
Like, it is coming. We can do that. You're right. AI can do that. We're getting it there. And I even asked him too, I was like, the hardest part, I assume, isn't the AI piece.
Yeah.
Which is why I actually think AI is way better at advisory work than tax prep work.
Right.
Is the hardest part is to get the information into you can extract it.
Yep.
The hardest part seems to be putting it into 20 different types of tax.
Right.
I'm on ultra tax. Someone else is on this. Someone else is on that.
Yep.
How do you actually, now that you have the numbers, how do you put them into the form?
Yeah.
That seems like the hardest part.
Yeah, that. And the other piece is telling the user what you did. And giving them a chance to review it. So say like they give me a sum of charitable contributions and then they give me 4 receipts and they're not the same number. What do I do in that scenario? I have to have some sort of UI that tells the user like, I made this decision.
Yeah.
So we started with like really structured data because you don't have to explain to the user. It's like box 10 went there. And if you miss box 10, you say, I missed box 10. But on a receipt, it's like, what decision did I just make?
Yeah.
I have 4 receipts and then I have a total that's a completely different number. Do I add the receipts to the total? Do I take it out and subtract it from the total and assume that these 4 receipts are part of the total? That type of decision is why we held off at first.
Yeah.
But we'll have that one very soon. And it's, I don't know if you planted the seed with Jack, but he was like, we're doing Schedule A, we're just doing it now. So he
was like, we're going to do it. Yeah.
He was building it this week.
The other thing I told him, I was like, I'm not going to use it for Schedule E. With where it was then, again, things change fast. So what, maybe 4 weeks ago? It had to create a new Schedule E. And so I was like, well, if you create a new Schedule E to put the numbers in, I got to now type in the address. I should have just typed the numbers in myself, right? And so, and he told me about how hard it is to match a Schedule E. But he said that maybe there's a pop-up coming that will be like, which Schedule E is this? And so I was like, oh, that solves that problem.
Exactly.
Because, that'll be helpful.
Yeah, that will come very soon, long before tax season for sure. I know we're at time. Any other last closing thoughts? And I really appreciate you taking
Well, I did want to, so that 50%, was I right on that? Was that mostly like staff? Because, it's like, if you don't have the staff, and you're like, how's this going to improve my bottom line by 50%?
Right.
It's not, right?
Yeah,
it's going to save you from having to hire someone. So then, okay, your income went up and your expenses didn't. So your margin went up. So
Yeah.
that's what I was guessing. Like, there's no
I had some
secret magic
turnover,
behind that.
someone left, and I didn't backfill them.
Yeah.
And then I had hourly folks, and those hourly folks just spent less time.
Yeah,
on their
so it was all
returns.
driven by
we
payroll.
had some
Didn't have
growth.
to be as hard. Yeah,
So,
I
like-
grew without having to grow payroll.
Yeah.
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 So there's no, no marketing fluff in there.
No,
that's just-
honestly, but I don't, every firm's so different.
Right.
I try not to like get people worked up on like stats. It's just like, listen, I will just tell you this, like you will do the return way faster with this.
Yeah.
Will it save you 20 or 40 or 60 or like, who knows? And if I say that number, like it's not like a guarantee that any other firm is going to realize that, because you're exactly right. Like is your staff, are you fixed rate pricing? I mean, do you have hourly staff? Like, are you ready for this type of change?
Yeah.
Do you have more clients to fill in if you've got like, because your admin overhead will go up, right? If you're reducing their other hours.
Yeah.
Just on a proportional basis. So there's so much that goes into it. But for us, we're running 55% net margins, which is insane. Like that's, I think I don't know. I don't hear many firms that are like at that level.
Yeah.
And I'm not even good. My people are all onshore. They're not inexpensive. Nobody makes less than $60 an hour.
Yeah.
So I could do a way better job of that. I've just never been a good, like, grind it out and go find inexpensive people.
Yeah. So that's my last question.
Yeah.
Is, okay, you built this
Yeah.
because you had a need for
Yeah.
it. And so there's some of that in there.
Yep.
Who is it for, right? Who's going to be like, I like this, because again, there could be a case study where they come in and they're like, I don't like Juno, but really they're just not a good case study for it, right?
That's right. That's right.
So in terms of as the person who built it, as the person who built it to solve a specific problem, and it probably has expanded a little
Right. Yep.
who is that? And then I'm going to throw this one in there too.
Yeah.
Are you going to sell out? Because I don't want to sign on now and then have to deal with. I probably shouldn't name names like that. Leave out the companies that I just named. But are you gonna sell out to one of these big conglomerates nobody wants to deal with?
No, that's a good question. We built it for my firm originally, right? And we've been between 3 people. Now we're 3. We were as high as 12, and that was what was in my mind. Is like, I want this for my firm first. So that's like very literally the answer. Though I think it ranges from like, we got 1-man firms and we have 30 people firms or bigger that are using it. We're in pilots with a couple like major firms. I don't think it's perfect for those guys yet. There's a lot of other features they're going to want, but like 30 people or less is a great sweet spot for us. And in terms of selling it, like, I hate working in big companies. I worked at big companies before I came in. I bought a CPA practice so I could run my own business. We've not raised venture money. A lot of our competitors have. A lot of them will continue to. We may raise money at some point, but I don't think we'll go down that path where you're forced to exit one way or another. We'll break even, honestly, on paper, we broke even this month. So we won't need to go raise a bunch of money to do that. So we'll see what happens down the road. But I don't want to go work in a big company. So I think we're going to be doing this for a long time. I'd rather just stay small. But I really appreciate you taking the time, and great to hear about your practice, and appreciate being online and reviewing products and all that. I think it's like really great for the whole community just to hear what people think, even when it's not initially positive, right? So
I've greatly appreciated how much you guys are open to that feedback and hearing it and stuff, and you're not, like, okay, let's just block the people who don't.
That's right. That's right.
And
take them down.
You might have to cut out part of the part where I was talking about my firm for time's sake, but there was one more question. Because I think this is important. Because it's something I didn't even think about. Was training the model. You told me yesterday. You don't train on the data I upload, but some companies do. And that's not something, it's like, okay, I'm thinking about where my data's going. And I'm thinking about that too in terms of like, well, if you sell, where's my data going? Or if you go out of business, where's my data going? Or if you do this, where's my data going? Because it's all in Juno, right? And I know SOC 2 compliant and all that stuff is already up and running, I think.
We're doing SOC 2 Type 2 audit, starts next week.
Okay, And then, so with that, what was the question I just asked you?
It was data.
It was
and
data.
Training.
Training and data. You said you don't train on the data. So how do you improve the model if you're not training on the data?
It may sound subtle, but it's very important. We train on user feedback. So when you go in and say, like, you got this number wrong, we track that very carefully. Like, we're missing box 10 on this particular form. We need to adjust our models to be better at that. And we'll go through and spend time on that with our own test data sets that we have. I think it's the most important question to ask, because you don't actually even have the right to give your client data to someone for training without going and disclosing it to them, which most people don't have that in their engagement. I've never talked to anyone who has that in their engagement letter right now. And so super important question. Obviously, all the other security things are very important too. But for us, that user feedback is how we improve the model. Like, we're not improving them. Well, we improve the way we structure our models. Some of our models are self-learning based on user feedback. A lot of them are like, an accountant is reviewing something. If we see that we're missing something, it will come to me or someone on my team who's literally like, what is the right answer here? So it's different than other AI processes in that way. These are not like we're training the models on their own. There's a lot of manual work that goes into that. Now, they'll still get better over time. But I think it's a really important question. So I appreciate you asking that.
Yeah, sure. And I promise, last one.
Yeah.
What's the biggest weakness right now in Juno?
You know, I would say these AI systems are like people. I always like think of it as people, not technology. We need to make it repeatable, like predictable, repeatable, and always like reducing errors. I mean, we will see 99+% on almost every major form, with the exception of like really long brokerage statements and K1s. And we tell people like, this is an area where we can miss things, and we actually highlight what we miss. So we're trying to like build around that so that mistakes are not a problem. But AI is never going to be perfect ever. And
so it's not going to replace.
That's why it's not a virtual CPA.
So I'm right. I'm right. AI is not going to replace taxpayers. Compliance is not going away.
And we have to build a great product.
You heard it from the
with
AI.
Imperfect technology, right? And that doesn't mean it's not useful. It's just, but it's not perfect. And so anybody that's saying it is they're just wrong about that. So that's the biggest challenge, is like make it better, and also help people understand how to understand where the risks are, where the mistakes are.
So like me, I don't think you ever foresee, at least not in the next couple of decades, where the taxpayer is using the AI themselves. I mean, like,
should do the whole thing.
Okay, you got the TurboTax. You got DIYers already.
And TurboTax is using AI. So,
but the people who aren't willing to DIY right now, 50% of them aren't going to jump and be like, ooh, AI. Like, because it's still a DIY if you're using AI. If you're not using a preparer, I feel like. So you see it more for the preparer than the end user.
That's why we built it and targeted it at accounting firms. Exactly.
Makes sense.
I think it's going to be a long time. But I don't even know.
That's what I think too, but I don't really know a lot about AI.
I don't know if it's ever going to happen, to be honest with you. And we were.
And that's where I asked Jack that too, because I was like, I don't know about AI, but he does. So let me ask him, and he's like, it's not.
Nobody knows.
All the fear mongering out there of like AI is going to take it. Not going to happen anytime soon.
Not yet. Appreciate that. Well, thank you for the time.
Thanks, Dave.
Great to connect.